All right, welcome back. Okay, so now we're going to go over the elements of the game. The elements, elementary, my dear Watson. Elements of the game. The game between God and the devil. So you understand what game we're playing. So one thing I want to say before we get into it is, if you know times, that subject of times, then you know the game. Okay? If you know the game, you know times. You know the game, you know times, you know times, you know the game. Because it's one and the same thing. Okay? So the game, I want to use multiple colors here, is the game is we'll go with red and green here. Okay. The game is, first and foremost, is a race, and it's also a battle. That's why there at the very end there's a battle of Armageddon. But because there's in all points as he comes, so shall he go. There's many points, and there's a progression. So because there is a birthing process and a death process right now. Every generation, every nation has a chance to run this race and to battle. Now, because it's two players, God and the devil. The kingdom of there's a devil side. I'm going to go over that real quick first. The devil side, and there, which is his side, is he's trying to build the Southwood. There's God's side, which is trying to build the Northwood. Depends, because they're both working a progression 1 through 7. When this one's winning, when God's winning, this one has to go away, because in all points as he comes, so shall he go. The dark has to go away, and evening has to come. But the devil's winning, then the darkness comes and morning goes away, because you can't have them both here occupying at the same time. Okay, that's why it's built into the shell of the heaven and the earth. The sun and moon tell this story. You can't have both happening. Now you can see when they both are at the same time. If you see them coming at the same time, that's when there's a battle happening. That's where we're at right now. We're in a type of Armageddon. Armageddon was from this is a name that came from the Valley of Megiddo, and the Valley of Megiddo was a trade route between Syria and Egypt, and there was always people get robbed on that route, so they had a post there to protect people from bandits, so that's why they call the Battle of Armageddon the Battle of Armageddon, because you're going to eventually have what they call the players here. Here's the players. The players is the nations. And the nations are either the kings, we talked about this before, of the earth, the earthly, sensual, and devilish. There's the Southwood, south and the earth, or your kings of the east. We'll get into that. That's the other side. But those are your merchants. Get that merch. Right now, if you go to my channel, you can buy Hollywood Hustle t-shirts. Get my merch now. Just kidding. We don't have that. Just kidding. Just kidding. Get the merch. Merchants. Those are traders. To trade. Traffickers. These are all the old school words. And it's spelled with CK. Traffickers. And princes of the sea. Back in the day, if you had a ship, if you had a prince of the sea, you're shipping and trading, right? We still ship today, but if you were a captain of a ship and you shipped, you were balling. So you was a merchant of the seas. So if you were trading, you had big trade routes, you were making money. But those trade routes came from a particular city, which was a World Trade Center. So the devil's side, he needs a head. He needs a head. He needs a body. He needs a market. He needs a market to traffic. He needs a market to traffic or to trade, right? Now what happens is you get people into schemes. So a market to trade. A market to trade is called a forced market. So the devil, in order to build his deal, his pyramid, he needs a forced market. That forced market, the way you force a market is by, this is, some of you might know this, what this is by weak and beggarly elements. What are weak and beggarly elements? Those are hour, day, month, year. I couldn't wait to get to this one, guys. This is the grid for your cash flow. We work by hourly wages. We have monthly bills, yearly fiscal taxes, and either day, you can also say week. It used to be daily wages, but that's when you get paid as a head. But when you get paid in the rears or the tail, you get paid by the week or sometimes bi-weekly. That is this market sets up the Southwood. These are where your bills come through. This is where you pay and get and you pay. You pay others and you get paid yourself through this. Right? This is a money system. That was known as a weak and beggarly element. What the heck? So what would be the opposite of this? Was a strong element was no longer weak and beggarly. Well, you're not a beggar if you're an heir. What's an heir? So glad you asked. An heir is someone that has an inheritance. Well, I like to have one of those. Yeah, they took that concept out of our nation. What happens is a lot of parents will sell everything at the end of their life and go travel the world and say, well, I had it hard, you had it hard, go work for a living. Parents don't lay up for their children no more. Children don't lay up for the parents as parents lay up for the children. You have to lay up. To lay up is to store up. And that's kind of hard to do, though. Like we're going to get right now, it's kind of hard to do because of money changing. What they call the black horse, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. One of those 4 horsemen was a black horse. There's 4 different colors. And the black horse was the horse that had the scales. They said, well, that means famine. No. The pale horse had famine. The pale horse had famine, sword, and noisome beast, and pestilence. That was the pale horse brought that. Because with words brings curses. This is what people have to know. That's why we're going to get into his doctrinal changes. A lot of times we don't know times. Times is what shall be. How do you know what shall be? Remember, times bring either blessing or the curse. And there's 4 curses, and that's sword. That's when you go to war. Famine. Noisome beast. What is that? What's a noisome beast? That's when like a lion or a bear just randomly comes into your neighborhood, just starts eating your babies, your children, mauls you to death. That's like also like a car accident. You'll get into a random car accident. Like you'll just get devoured. That's the curse. So it's noisome beast, famine, sword, pestilence. Pestilence. That's like locusts come and eat up your crops. Stuff like that. So those are the curses that come through bad times, through bad thinking. You open up a door. That's on your social. That can be social and it can be financial. Famine can also hit your money, right? So there's different ways you can invite this in, by the way. So it's not just in your social behavior. It's also in your your belief system. Well, what other way is there than this? But, having monthly, charging someone monthly for something, right? Well, what if we don't have an inheritance? That means you need delivered. You need an inheritance. Jesus died and gave us an inheritance. You better believe that reason why he bore the crowns when he was up on the cross, he was up there naked, everything showing. There was no loincloth. They do that in the Catholic Church, because it's number one, you don't want kids seeing that stuff. But he was up there naked. He was naked. He had to bear the shame. He despised the shame that was before him, and he bore the curse of of lack and poverty. That's what the thorns meant. So he lost everything. Jesus was very wealthy, in so much he had a treasury, Judas Iscariot, and Jesus was a carpenter. He built houses. He was very, very wealthy, but he became poor on the cross that we might become rich. That's what's coming. That's why we're also trying to tell people in this movement there is a huge blessing about to come on this nation. That was also in my interview. If you haven't seen my interview with Brandon from That's the Point with Brandon, go subscribe to him. If you're not subscribed to him, you should. And also see our interview on this channel. I also put it on my channel. But in there I talked about how Trump's kicking out the banks. This is why everyone hates Donald Trump. Trump is the bankers are the ones that taught us the weak and beggarly elements to set up this. That's what that is, so they can have the cash flow, so it works this, right? And the bankers are at the top. All right, he's kicking out the Federal Reserve and the black horse and all that's going away. What beats the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? We'll get into that. We'll get into that. So we have the hour, day, month, year grid for the cash flow. He also needs a mart, like Kmart, Walmart, right? What is a mart? That's a house of merchandise. Merch. Get our merchandise. Merchandising. Spaceballs, the t-shirt. Spaceballs, the lunchbox. So we need the throne. That's a throne. His throne is a house of merchandise. It's also called a square. His square is a pyramid square, that is, but like a Times Square. Why do every January, December 31st, we're all celebrating the ball dropping? Yay! Yay! Ball dropping! Yay! We're celebrating something. We're celebrating weak and beggarly elements. Yay! I get to work for another year. Awesome! Yay! Another year goes by. We're on this calendar. And calendar, the Greek word for cal, and calendar means time. We're celebrating the Babylonian system of commerce. Yay! Babylonian system of commerce. .com. Oh, wow. It's in the internet now? Okay. All right. Let's move forward. Talking about a lot of things that could become offensive. Let's see. So what's the answer? I mean, we're getting to that. We got to build up the pain first, guys. Got to build up what we're all in. That's okay. Well, what other way is there but to screw someone else to get to the top? There's other ways, I promise you. We got to make some room real quick, and I got to cut down my talking. We're almost there. So we got, those are the elements. So his foundation is the external stone of emptiness. Remember, stones of emptiness are internal and external. The external stone of emptiness. So the weak and beggarly elements are meant to empty you out or deplete you or devour. You got to devour someone else so you don't get devoured. Eat or be eaten. That is this market. All right. You need a market with a multitude of people. Let me build up my subscribers. Multiple. Can't do two things at once. Multitude. You need a multitude of people. But so does God. But right now we want our multitude people so we can get something from them, right? So let's see. So we talked about the black horse, which is the words of men. The words of men are got to be prepared in you. Those words got to be prepared in you to get this. These are the words of men that sets up this. They got to be prepared in you, and they have to tip scales. Tip scales, we talked about that. Those are called the balances, because the balance of deceit. Balances of deceit. So, what do you have to do to set this up into people's mindsets? Well, you got to put it in the culture. You got to put it in the education system. You have to prepare ways and places. You got to set up the grid for it. And boundaries. And boundaries. boundaries are, you got to set up a gridlock. Gridlock. Monopoly. I just can't get out of this. Well, Jesus can deliver you. That's what we're heading towards, guys. The pain had to come in fullness so you guys can understand. Don't ever get back into the Federal Reserve ever again. Don't ever teach it to your children. Don't ever let the bankers take over a government ever again. That's what's coming. We got to teach people this. That don't get out of the monopolies. Get out of the gridlock. Take over. That's why politics are so important. Because that monopoly, that poly system, they tick it like a blood tick, sucking the life out of it, and they gridlock you under them. Right? So you're reeled to and fro because we observe times. What observe times do we do? We observe this. This is all we observe. This is all we know. It's all we look at. It's all we think about. I have my monthly bills, my yearly taxes. I have to go find a job. I have to work for somebody. Blah, blah, blah. So now we've erased some of this. And this is the last part of it. He has Satan, the elements of this. He's got to get you busy, because that's your business. My business is keep me busy. Oh, I'm busy. I'm just so busy right now. Because that's your business. Your busyness is your occupation. To occupy is to take over. You're either taking over for the light or the dark. That's your rat race. The rat race. Right? I'm busy. I've got to hustle. Got to get my hustle on. I got to hustle so I don't get hustled. Right? It's in the hip hop culture. So you got to be busy. And that produces the multitude of riches. So you can buy the best stuff and I'm better than you. Right? That creates wealth, power, and control. It's not that wealth and power is bad. It's when you're trying to control people now. He makes the poor. Because to devour someone else, you make them poor. You devour them. That's all pyramid is. I'm at the top. I'm rich, and they're all devoured. They're working. They got all these bills. Right? They're being devoured, and that makes the poor. That's Mystery Babylon. They call it an eminent domain. It's an eminent domain and renowned city. It makes a nation powerful when they do this. This is why America got so big. We built the Federal Reserve in 1913, and we built up our nation off the backs of Germany. That's what we did. Germany was winning World War I, and then all of a sudden they just lost out of nowhere. And I won't get too much into it, but then when they lost, they had reparations. They had to pay France and England back, so they borrowed money from the United States. Just so happened we had a Federal Reserve. That was coincidence. Don't think so. But we put someone underneath us, and that made us a world power. And we've been that way since. And there's been other things we've done, monopolies on money and currency. Well, that monopoly on currency is about to go away. So you're about to see a time of freedom. But you better believe, guys, that monopoly on money that's going away, that means everyone's dropping the petrodollar. I talked about that in the interview. You need to watch that. That's the point with Brandon. That because that's going away, if you have money tied to the dollar, you're probably going to lose it. So if you don't have much money anyways, it's not going to make a difference to you. Now you're just going to start at the bottom like everybody else, and you're going to have to get a chance to save like normal, buy a house like normal, and land like normal. Isn't that nice? But if you're someone that was rich and you built your wealth off the backs of somebody else through a pyramid scheme, you're going to lose everything. Unless someone lets you know how money works, and you take your money out and get into something else. But you better believe that your pyramid scheming days are over, because this movement is going to be supplied by the same thing that's paying off the Federal Reserve and our national debt. You better believe it's coming. And I'm telling you right now, it's coming. So that way you get prepared. God does nothing first without revealing his secrets to his servants, the prophets. And we're giving you the apostolic infrastructure of how all this works. That's the devil's side. The last thing I'll say with it, that's the last thing I'll say with this, is that these scales, remember, these are scales. The pyramid schemes are scales. They're stones that we think of the day, time, month, year. That whole weak and beggarly elements. We'll say weak and beg elements that you think about every day. What it meant was to slay the third part of men. You better believe a third of the world. That's why I call them third world countries. You know what I mean? These scales, these stones are meant to, these weak and beggarly elements are meant to slay you, put you in debt. And you better believe there's another third that's making out like bandits. Isn't that funny how a third of the angels left? A third of the angels left heaven. The evil angels. It's no coincidence. And then you do it, you get wealth without God, is what that is. Without God. And that's pride. That's called the pride of life. Life you can end up increasing because of your scales and your stones. But if you do it without God, through this means, that's pride. And that's what the story of Job is about. We're going to get into that. And when it slays the third part of men, that's bondage. And it's meant to turn you out. Woo! Turn you out of the way. I am the way, the truth, and the life, Jesus said. And now you're the tail and not the head, and the sting is in the tails of a scorpion. The serpent also has a tail. You're the tail underneath him. He's building this pyramid scheme underneath you. And the head of the scorpion, the head of the scorpion, which is the serpent, with their head devours. And with their head, they do hurt. You're going to be hurt, guys, if you're in... I'm hurting right now. I have all these bills. We're all hurting. We need a deliverer. And this is why we got the keys to heaven's economy. I came here almost 8 years ago in July, and I told a minister in Hollywood, God called me to Hollywood. You better believe once we get our government back, we're taking Hollywood back. This is what we're telling you. I tried telling him, God gave me the keys to heaven's economy. And it's in this movement. There's a bunch of us that know about this out here. I'm trying to get it out to you guys. If you could share these videos, like, subscribe, share, bang that bell, smash that like button. That's good. But seriously, share. And we need to get the word out there, because we need people on board to know what's going on. We have keys to heaven's economy. We can teach you what money changing is, teach you how currencies work. We can save your wealth, and we can set you up to be a king in the times to come, because the times are changing. And if you believe my word, then you believe him that sent me. If you don't believe my word, then if it doesn't happen, then I'm a false apostle and a false prophet, right? But I believe my word will come to pass, because I know what shall be. And the people that train me know what shall be. And I trust their word, because it ain't my word. It was the word that was given to me. It's been stretched out and spread to me. Now I'm giving it to you guys. I'm going to end it here, because this is the devil's side. The next video will be God's side. Thank you so much. Come back again.